back with more Walking Dead. This is episode 13 of season 11. Very excited, as always, to see what's going to be happening next. Last episode kind of dealt a bit with the aftermath of Eugene finding out the truth about Stephanie, but they seem to be kind of building some bridges with, him and Max, so hopefully they'll get along just fine. We also had Ezekiel going in for surgery, so fingers crossed that goes okay. But the main focus was Pamela kind of going through all the different communities, and Maggie being like, no thanks to the deal that they were proposing, but I'm not sure if Lance is the kind of guy to take that lying down, and he seemed to go a bit cuckoo at the end. So definitely still, one to watch in terms of him. But yeah, I like where the whole storyline is going with that and the Commonwealth and like the politics of it all. I think it's really interesting. So I'm intrigued to see where the focus will head on to next, and what this one's going to be about. Who can say? I've been away. I've been to Disneyland, in fact, for the past week or so. So I'm actually a couple of episodes behind on Walking Dead, so I'm trying to catch up now. So I'm actually going to record this and the next one back to back, and then edit them and hopefully get them out around about the same time, fingers crossed. Probably just in time for the next episode to air, so I'm still going to be behind. But it's the way of the world. So apologies that these reactions have been a bit late compared to usual. But can't be helped, really. So regardless, from the nice kind of happiness and sunshine of Disneyland, I'm going to come crashing back to reality now with the undead. So it's hell of a come down. This is definitely, this is bringing me back to reality. So that's nice, I guess. Either way, I'm excited to see what this episode's going to bring. So let's get into it. Oh, is this going to be a thing?
Need an escort?
Why?
Because you're pretty. Oh dear, well, he looks healthy. Well, thanks very much for leaving them all worried and then you just die. I'm inconsiderate.
Being outnumbered has never stopped you before.
It should have.
We did lose a lot of people when she went out.
I have to help these people first.
Mm-hmm. If you can't beat them. Aww. If anything happens to Herschel in this show, I don't think I'll be able to cope. See, this is why I quite like having some younger people in the show and as survivors and stuff, because I do think people like Maggie have been through so much shit, they're just going to not trust anything or have no hope ever again. But I think younger people can still give that to them.
Before the fall, I lived on a farm with my family and my dad. One day these corporate farm developers
All dead
started
now.
Getting by is what I've been forced to do my whole life. I was told that it makes you stronger and wiser.
Yeah, it's just miserable.
Those people have not been tested for 10 years. Do you want to be there when they are?
I guess there's a point to
I
that.
just want things to be the same every day.
Yeah. Well, they are when they're living in this pandemic, but I guess not their pandemic. Oh, shit. Oh. Well, that armour did fuck all then, didn't it?
Knife slashed right through the neck guard.
Ugh. Well, they know where to put a new piece of the armour, don't they? Oh. Oh, okay. We're going to see what happened. Alright.
All of us have sinned.
You more than all of them combined, probably.
Now we're reaching out and bringing people that he
The Lord's work.
Yeah.
That's what he was doing when we first met him. Because he found Rick and everyone, didn't he? And brought him into Alexandria. He didn't have a cool beard then, though. And he had 2 arms. Sorry.
Sorry to interrupt. Crossing ready when you are.
Oh, thank you, Jesse.
Oh, is that the guy who ends up dead on the horse?
We're training him.
Well, it doesn't go very well.
I cannot wait to watch you two do your thing.
Yeah, but what are you gonna do?
Do you copy? Over. Copy, sir. Over. You see? It's all good.
That's how walkie-talkies work.
Yeah, I'm not doing this.
Just because of some pre-game jitters?
No, because your plan is shit, and I don't want to die.
Yep.
It's not up for discussion. I need you to trust that I know what I'm doing. Let's go.
Yeah, but they don't. That's the point.
Wear that. It's part of your costume.
Costume.
This is how this is going to go.
Yeah, I wouldn't mess with Gabriel anymore. It's not season 5.
Is there anyone I could speak with, face to face?
I'm guessing so. They're zooming in on the doors, so...
Oh,
They're kind of scary. Oh.
it's kind of a bitch to take off.
You can put a bag over it or something.
Just the four of you?
We can make it if we try.
Last door to the right.
What's down there?
Good things? I would turn around. Oh! Isn't that,
Seats.
that's Kyle Reese, isn't it? From, Terminator, first one. Oh, it didn't go well last time a person from Terminator was in the same room as Gabriel and Aaron.
Let's say this place is like the old world, and they do have a church. Then they have to have hookers too, right? And gambling,
There's a screening process.
an audition. Well, let me get my tap dancing shoes. Turn around and look in that back corner.
Oh. That's nice.
If you know where I live and I don't know where you live, how dumb would that be for me to let you go?
He's kind of got a point there.
Toby?
Or not Toby. Oh.
Tell me where your raiding party is, or I'm gonna start dropping bodies on the floor. Started with him.
Well, we know it doesn't end well for him,
Do
so...
we look like raiders to you?
Wolves, dressed as sheep.
What do you have that we would want? This place is a shithole. Why would we want it?
Meat. You'll leave here. You'll never come back.
You idiot!
What did you do?
My job.
What a prat. Oh.
You got your call.
Oh dear. They're friends, are they? No wonder he's dodgy.
And they've got your guns now. And the cargo too, I take it.
Okay, so it's all an ulterior motive why they went there then.
What am I missing?
I need a surgical solution.
Oh man. I don't do that anymore, Lance.
Apparently you do.
Find people who need help and give them a second chance. It's zen. Feels great.
And it can be taken from you.
Is that intimidating? To just...
How's Aaron working?
It's great. Instantly connects with people, makes my job easy.
Great. Do you know about his buddy, the priest?
Stokes. Oh.
I do like all the little shady like side things that Lance has running. Oh!
Stop! Stop! Cuff him!
I don't know what he was expecting to do there, to be fair, so...
I found those weapons. Don't you think
Oh, well, okay. Well, nice having him around.
Lord,
Oh, he's pissed. He was already dead, mate. There we go. Oh, shit. There it is. Oh, God, yes!
Interesting.
Oh, shit.
back from one guy to another.
Oh.
Yeah. Where'd you get that?
You gave it to the guy who rode into your top.
No, I didn't.
And who did?
Ooh.
Don't move.
Oh, shit.
How many of you are there?
This isn't what I signed up for.
So Negan was with that group. Shit. I didn't see that coming, I'll give you that.
You tell her Gabriel and Aaron are in trouble. Go.
Look at him looking out for his friends. Oh, so it was... Okay, so Gabriel didn't save himself, but...
Negan?
Just drink it. So you find every weird way of doing that under the sun. I know people do that, but come on. Yeah, that's Anthony. There. That guy. Why so awkward? He's another Walking Dead reactor. I remember he posted a video saying that he was in The Walking Dead. And I didn't know exactly where or when, but that's him. That's so cool.
I believe you.
Christ. Oh.
Your people have let you down.
Well, you let them down, technically. Literally.
We know this place better than the assholes in our house.
Mm.
Coming out of this on top.
Ah, yeah, and now they're here as well. They're back. Imagine Maggie walking in. Like, yes, we saved the day. Oh, I've saved Negan. Fuck. I wasn't expecting it to end there. No! Alright then. I love this episode. I think this might be my favourite episode so far in this chunk of the season. It might be one of my favourites of the entire season thus far. I'd have to go back and think about what was in part 1 of the season, because it feels like ages ago. But yeah, I adored this, and I like that it kind of feels like a mini arc in itself. I'm hoping we don't leave it there, and they do something else for another episode or two, and then this is the mid-season finale, the finale of part 2 of the season, or we revisit it much later on. I'm hoping the next episode is the continuation of this, because it's very cliffhangery, and Walking Dead I feel like doesn't really do that much. So I enjoyed that side of things, and how everything kind of played out, structurally and stuff. I thought this was a really well done kind of format. We kind of had the setup with, I think his name was Jesse, he was dying on the horse, and that sets up that little group heading there, and then they bump into Aaron, and then they go back, all the different going back in time, explaining how this situation ended up being, because we, as an audience, they put us in the same shoes as Aaron and Gabriel, even though we'd also seen it had already happened to Aaron at that point, meaning meets with Maggie and everyone. They then go back, and we're in kind of the same shoes as them. We think this is just we're trying to get them to join the Commonwealth, but all along, obviously, that guy Carlson, I think was his surname. That's what I'll call him. He obviously had this ulterior motive because Lance put him up to just taking them all out, and he was like, "But I'm 2 weeks away from retirement," and he's convinced to do one last job, and hopefully that's his final job, because I'm hoping Carlson gets his what for. But yeah, I like that. Once that all got revealed, we're in the same boots as Aaron and Gabriel in that moment, and we find out what the ulterior motive was at the same time as them. And then from there, the addition of Negan and everything being involved, and Negan was part of that group. That's obviously where he ended up. Somehow he just ended up joining them. I'm hoping we get flashbacks to actually see that, 'cause that'd be cool. And it'd be a good excuse of getting the guy who played Carl Reese in the first Terminator film back, to do a little scene. So it's kind of sad that he showed up and then he died 5 minutes later. But he was good though. It was cool to kind of get another Walking Dead, another Terminator alumni kind of in the show. I think that's quite funny after we had Robert Patrick in the bonus episodes, which is also a big Aaron and Gabriel episode. So it's quite funny that they've kind of had a pattern going there. But yeah, I really like structurally how they handled the reveals, and filled in some gaps a bit later on, seeing how things kind of come together. So he's like, oh, Gabriel escaped, and I think we'd be like, well, Gabriel he's shown to be pretty savage nowadays. It wouldn't be a huge surprise that he did escape of his own accord, but then we kind of get the flashbacks revealing that it was Negan and his new friend whoever she was, but she seems quite cool. It was them who kind of rescued him and got him out of there. So that was really cool, fitting in all these gaps. And while it almost feels like a part one of a two-parter, almost, and then hopefully the next episode is going to be part two of it, and it's not going to be like another episode focusing on someone else. While that it does feel that way, it still feels like kind of a complete thing in itself. It still feels like I don't feel cheated. That I'm like, oh, we don't have like the resolution just yet, because it feels like the build-up was also really well done. And some things were concluded, obviously, because we did get like the big reveal of what this whole operation was actually about, and we got some cool things like that. And it was kind of preceded by some good character stuff as well, like the opening sequences. So we had Lydia trying to head off to the Commonwealth, and then it all got kind of disrupted from there, and Elijah clearly has a bit of a crush on her. So I think that's kind of an interesting pairing. I'd like to see them explore that a bit, and I'm sure that's where they're going with it, otherwise why bother doing it? And yeah, trying to convince Maggie to kind of go and help that community. I don't, obviously Jesse died before he could actually tell them that it was Gabriel and Aaron. If he actually named them, I think obviously Maggie would have been like, well, let's go, because obviously they know that. Maybe if she didn't know that Negan was the one who sent him and gave him the map and everything, she'd have been like, no, I'm not helping Negan. Of course I'm not. And she's going to be so pissed when she sees that Negan's there. But I'm actually quite excited for that. But yeah, I liked that whole kind of opening thing, and Maggie kind of coming round to the idea in the end. Her little goodbye to Herschel was very wholesome. And then I liked that even though they'd already, like, she'd made the decision to join him and everything, on the journey there, they were still kind of debating like whether or not this was the right thing to do. And I really liked Lydia's point of view on it in particular. When she was kind of saying, I've been just getting by my entire life, and that's so true as well, because I think it's like episode 2 of season 10. We had like the whole like Alpha origin story flashback, and we kind of saw just how young Lydia was when the apocalypse started, and everything that happened with her dad and stuff. She has just been getting by ever since she was tiny. And the Commonwealth is like her chance of just living a life. And it's so sad, like, in this world, that Lydia's dream life is every single day is just the same, because that's better than every day being like, well, am I going to die today? We'll see, because anything could happen. Anything could eat me or shoot me, whatever. So it's kind of sad that that's what her childhood has been reduced down to. It's like, I just want to be normal and have a normal day every single day. And just to be able to breathe for a bit, I guess. So I like that as her dream. And then we have Maggie, who's obviously gone through all that experience as well, and had years and years of it at this point, gone through many, many losses, and is just therefore naturally untrustworthy. Very much like Dowell. Dowell, his instinct is to not trust anything or anyone. He's always going to be suspicious of everything. He's still not fully come around to the Commonwealth yet, even now, and he's bloody one of their soldiers, So they've kind of gone through all that, and I think she's just a bit, battle weary at this point. She's very worn down by it. So, I think at this point for Maggie, surviving is just enough, and just getting it day by day. And then someone like Lydia, who's obviously a lot, much younger, and I guess the younger you are, the more you'd think about like long-term futures and stuff. Whereas Maggie's very much concerned for like, we need to get my group, my survivors, through the next day and the day after that. She's not really thinking super far ahead in like years and years to come. And that's why Lance was trying to appeal to that side of her in the last episode, being like, oh, imagine dropping Herschel off at college, or taking him to a doctor's appointment so and so, and going somewhere else, going to the beach at Oceanside. And she was still like, no, I reject your offer, because she can't envision that future for herself, which again is a very sad kind of prospect. So I like the kind of clashing heads between that idea, even though Maggie did still go along with them regardless in the end. So maybe she's just listening to her gut. She's probably going to be like, oh, I should not have listened to my gut, when she sees that Negan's there. But still, I liked the kind of clashing of ideas there, because I don't think Maggie's wrong. I don't think Lydia's wrong in their views of that. And I think they both make good points. So I did like that kind of debate, and it was a good, good character moments to start off before we probably got into like the plot heavy stuff. when Aaron appeared, and then we got flashbacks to see what happened. I really enjoyed focusing on Aaron and Gabriel again as well, and I do think their bonus episode of the 6 bonus ones we got, along with like the Negan origin episode, I think those are probably the 2 strongest ones of those 6 bonus ones we got. So it was cool to kind of, they probably at this point knew how well received that episode was, the Aaron and Gabriel one with the T-1000. So they're like, well, we've got to focus on that friendship again, haven't we? And we got that. So that was cool to see Gabriel kind of happy in his role at the Commonwealth. He's kind of found God again, talking about forgiveness and stuff, because if anyone needs forgiveness from God, it's probably Gabriel, let's be honest. So he's kind of sunk back into the role that he used to have as well, that he played years and years ago when we first met him. Aaron was also kind of playing the same role he was as when we first met him, because he was kind of going out, finding people, you know, trying to convince them to join the Commonwealth, which is exactly what he was doing when we first met him, when he approached Rick and the group and said, have you heard of Alexandria? It's great. I mean, obviously that ended up kind of working out pretty well for that group in the end. So the fact that it worked out well, and those people that Aaron found and introduced to Alexandria are like his family now. You know, that's kind of all the people that he has left. So he's going to believe in that. He's going to be willing to kind of do that all over again. Little did he know that shady Mr. Lance Hornsby had other plans for this new community, because they attacked some of the Commonwealth soldiers prior, and they just wanted their weapons and shit back. So again, you can understand to an extent why you want to get your own back at that, and Lance was doing it more so because he didn't want to get in trouble with Pamela and, you know, get his thigh slapped or whatever, get berated for it, because he's tired of that, it would seem. And she warned him, you know, there'd be consequences if you can do what you want with Alexandria, etc., Hilltop, but if it affects your day-to-day job, there will be consequences. And the fact that he's instantly messed something else up, you know, he's going to want to cover that up. So he's relied on this old friend of his, Carlson. I think an interesting side to Carlson that I appreciated, and it's not just like, oh, he just enjoys the power, blah, blah, blah. He did seem quite reluctant to do it. He took a lot of convincing, because he's like, I enjoy going out and just finding people. So I actually think a lot of it now was him putting on the performance of it, and he's trying to, maybe he is just, you know, slipping back into that old role of the guy who used to do that kind of shit anyway, and maybe he does genuinely enjoy it and he's kind of getting a bit paranoid again. Or I think he's just really going OTT with it to try and convince himself that, yeah, this is the right thing to do. Maybe there is some self-doubt there. I'm hoping that maybe that can be explored. Especially the moment when he killed the guy, the leader, and then kept like kicking him, even though he was already dead. It just felt like very performative in a way, like, yeah, he deserved this. He's kind of that, maybe fighting back that self-doubt. Maybe I'm just reading too much into that character. But I think that was there in the actor's performance. So I did like the sense of reluctance. It's not just like, let's do this again, because I love killing people. You know, I love the violence of it. I think there were some layers to Carlson as well, which I did appreciate. So that was cool. I mean, I still want him to die horribly, because, you know, this is an awful thing that they've done. And it seemed, you know, it would have just worked out that no one had to die. They could have just gone their separate ways. It didn't work out. But because of what was actually going on and what the plan actually was, that was never meant to be, sadly. Otherwise it would have been fine and everyone could have walked away. But yeah, it was cool to, you know, however briefly, see another community and see how they're kind of coping with things. And, you know, clearly the leader guy was a bit kind of crazy, because he had a display of skulls, shells of skulls, like they were Funko Pop figures, which was, you know, something. The governor had his tanks of severed zombie heads. This guy had the skulls. So to be fair, I'd probably take the skulls over the zombie heads in tanks, because the governor was, 50 shades of crazy. But yeah, it was interesting to kind of get another view of how the community's surviving, and compared to others we've met, they didn't seem to necessarily be the worst. They weren't cannibals or, necessarily savages, etc. For the most part, obviously they did attack those soldiers and everything, so they're doing what needed to be done. But I liked the balancing of the escalation of things. I think he made a very good point. Like, you know where my people are, you know where we live. I don't know where you live. Why the hell would I let you go? He has a reason for that violence, of that scale. It would have been maybe killing 4 people, versus, you know, what Lance and Carlson have now planned, and they're just killing all of them, throwing them off roofs, even though they clearly don't know anything. So yeah, I liked the slow build and the escalation of that, and you know, it could have just been a simple episode of them trying to convince these people to join the Commonwealth, because Lance promised, you know, we're going to get all of these communities to join and a whole lot more. And the very next episode, he's like, go to this other community and kill them all, please. So that shows you the type of guy that Lance is. But yeah, I really liked that, the tension building up with that. I loved Aaron just absolutely decking one of those Commonwealth soldiers with his super cool hand and just like smashed right through that armor. Really good stuff with that. He's pretty badass. I love the focus on Aaron recently. That does make me nervous that he's going to die, because they've given him a lot of screen time in the past couple of episodes, and that normally happens when you're about to get bumped off. So we'll see. That makes me a bit nervous, but you never know. Same with Gabriel. They're giving him a lot of screen time. But it's good because those characters have come a long way. So yeah, I really enjoyed the whole kind of plot line and how things kind of went and the twists and turns with it. You know, it wasn't just like a standard affair kind of deal. It was, again, just leaning into the shadiness of Lance in particular and the Commonwealth, and is everything as it seems, while giving like a character like Lydia, who I think has been a bit underused this season, some cool moments at the start with Maggie, and hopefully now that Maggie and co are also back at that place with Aaron in tow, they're going to get some cool stuff now that they've been mixed into this plot line as well. And that was already interesting enough, but the fact that Negan was also part of this group and found that and has a friend and everything there, he seems to have kind of found somebody that he's just slotted in quite well, which is nice. And, you know, the reason he slotted in so well is probably because he didn't kill any of their husbands, brutally beat their heads into pulp. So to see that now kind of be disrupted and destroyed, is he going to go back to Alexandria again? Is this how he gets brought back into the fold? You know, he left of his own accord a few episodes back. And I was wondering when we would see him again. And I thought this was a really cool, surprising way of bringing him back into it. So yeah, now maybe he's going to be on side with everyone as well. I can't wait to see him and Maggie kind of reunite, because clearly that's where they're heading into, because that's going to be fun. Can't wait for that. But at least Lydia will be happy to see him. You know, that's good. Every cloud. So yeah, where all this is going to go now. There's a lot of like very cool characters in that area. You know, even Elijah, you know, when we first met him, he was like, he just had like this mysterious mask on, and he's slowly kind of come out of his shell a bit, and we're getting a bit more of his character as well, like at the start with him trying to impress Lydia and offering to go with her and everything. So we've got a really cool collection of characters at a storyline I'm really enjoying, and I'm hoping they continue that on in the next episode, and we'll see where it goes. But, you know, it doesn't feel kind of, outside of showing us that Lance does some dodgy side stuff, which we already knew, you know, it's nothing new there. The fact that, you know, outside of that, it feels quite a separate storyline in this final season. You know, it feels like a very different kind of self-contained story. I'm quite enjoying that. You know, it feels quite refreshing. And I'm just really enjoying the twists and turns of it and where it's headed. And like, this was a really impressive episode for me. And yeah, I'm just kind of hyped to see what happens with this next. You know, is this gonna feel like a two-parter kind of esque deal, and then we move on from it and we just carry on doing other stuff now? You know, since Aaron and Gabriel clearly saw that Carlson, you know, he had orders to do this was the plan, are they going to trace that back to Hornsby? And now Lance is going to, you know, they're going to all realise that Lance is kind of like a very dodgy guy here. How's that going to kind of go in like the general theme of the Commonwealth? How are people going to respond to that? You know, I feel like maybe they're building up Lance to be like a proper villain for the end of the show, perhaps. So yeah, like, you know, is this going to be a very self-contained thing and then we move on? Or does this have long spread ramifications for the Commonwealth story and the Lance stuff? And maybe, you know, as bringing Negan back into the fold, maybe he's going to go back to the Commonwealth now, since Lydia was on the way there. You know, maybe he'd appeal to the Commonwealth because he's like, well, Lydia's there, Lydia likes me, we can go there. And, you know, if his new friend survives, any of his new friends really, there's still quite a few of the survivors of his group, you know, they could all still go to the Commonwealth maybe, or who can say. I don't think the Hilltop will welcome them, because Maggie would probably rather not spend more time with Negan. But yeah, I'm interested to see what the long-term ramifications of this is going to be. Because even if it is like a self-contained story, I think it's very strong. And for me, this is far and away the highlight of the second part of the season thus far. In a sea of very good episodes, I thought this one was especially impressive. So yeah, I'm hyped. You know, the fact that I was so into this and the story for it is clearly not over gets me excited to see more. So it's episode 14 next, isn't it? So we've got another 3 until we go on break again. So I'm hoping before part 2 of the season's out, we do continue this story, but I'm really hoping that they just carry on in the next one and we don't focus on something else. We'll see. You never know. Either way, this was a fantastic episode. I absolutely adored it. I think this is far and away my favourite thus far of part 2 of this season, maybe even this season in general. I think this is definitely one of the best episodes we've gotten. And yeah, I look forward to seeing where this goes next. And more excitingly is I'm going to be watching the next one right away. So I don't have to wait too long to find out if I've got what I've wanted. And I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed and see. But yeah, fantastic episode. I adored it. Can't wait to see what's going to happen next. And yeah, until my next reaction, thanks for watching.